Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer. My parents came to America with nothing but $200 and big dreams. My dad worked 2 jobs and my mom cleaned houses, saving every penny they could. Always keep your own money, baby girl. Dad told me when I got my first paper route at 12. Independence is freedom. In the old country, women without their own money had no choices. Those words shaped my life. Through high school, I worked every summer instead of vacationing. During college, I juggled scholarships and part-time jobs. By 25, I had my corner office at Goldman Sachs. That's where I met David. Your market analysis is impressive, he said, actually looking at my presentation, not just my face. Most people wouldn't have caught that pattern. He was different from the usual trust fund crowd. I respected his genuine interest in my work and my independence. Our wedding was perfect until his sister Elizabeth cornered me at the reception. Separate bank accounts? How modern, she said with thinly veiled sarcasm. In our family, we share everything. Right, Daddy? Peter, my father-in-law, nodded sagely. Family money should stay in the family. These independent arrangements can lead to trust issues. Easy for her to say. Elizabeth's career was a series of failed fashion blogs bankrolled by her parents. At 32, she was still living in their Manhattan apartment, finding herself. Every Sunday dinner, my mother-in-law Lisa would ask, "Don't you trust David with money?" In her day, wives simply trusted their husbands. But for me, it wasn't about trust. It was about maintaining the independence we both valued. My cousin Margaret saw through their pretense. They hate that you don't need their money, she told me. An independent woman is their worst nightmare. David always defended me. Jennifer earned everything she has, and I love that about her. I thought we'd reached an understanding. But one day, I came home early with a migraine, only to hear Elizabeth's voice drifting from my home office. It has to be here somewhere. I found her rifling through my desk drawers, clutching my investment statements. "Oh, you startled me," she stammered. "Just looking for a pen." In my locked desk drawer, her excuses couldn't hide her intentions. This was more than nosiness. This was about control, about a family desperate to rein me in. Looking back, I realized that was just the beginning. At the next family dinner, Elizabeth smirked and made her move. "I spoke to our family financial advisor," she announced. "Joining the family investment pool would be perfect for Jennifer." Lisa chimed in, "Wonderful idea. All the family money in one place." I replied, "I'm comfortable with my current investments, thank you." Elizabeth's tone turned saccharine. "Unless you don't trust us." David squeezed my hand under the table. "Our arrangement works for us." But Peter put down his wine glass hard. Separate finances often mean someone's planning an exit strategy. The room fell silent as David stood, face flushed. "Enough, Dad." The tension simmered until Elizabeth orchestrated her next move at the country club. "We're all investing in a vacation property in Aspen. You and David must join us." When I politely declined, she leaned in with a sweet smile. "Like your secret accounts, I mean independent accounts." Rumors spread fast. Margaret warned me, "Elizabeth's been asking around about your salary, bonuses, everything." I could feel the pressure mounting, but I was done playing their game. At Peter's birthday dinner, Elizabeth clinked her glass for a toast. To family unity. Well, almost unity. Some of us still keep secrets. I stood up, steady and calm. "Exactly what are you implying?" Elizabeth shrugged, her voice honeyed. "Just that true family doesn't need separate accounts, right?" Lisa nodded. "It does make people wonder about your commitment, dear." David's fist hit the table. "Stop it. All of you." Peter's voice tried to sound soothing as he broke the tense silence at the dinner table. "We're just concerned, Jennifer," he said. "When my friends hear about your arrangement." I let out a small laugh. "Your friends? You mean the country club gossips who funded Elizabeth's 3 failed businesses?" Elizabeth's face flushed red. "At least I can rely on family," she spat. "No," I replied coolly, "you mooch off family. There's a difference." The room erupted, but amidst the chaos, something finally became clear. This wasn't just about bank accounts. It was about control. A family unwilling to accept a woman they couldn't buy or manipulate. The midnight phone call from my cousin Margaret confirmed my suspicions. Her voice was urgent. "Jennifer, I just overheard something at the country club. Elizabeth's husband is filing for divorce. He's frozen all their joint accounts." My heart raced. What happened? She's been forging his signature on business checks, racking up credit card debt he never knew about. We're talking hundreds of thousands in hidden debt. Now it all makes sense. The obsession with your finances, the relentless attacks on your independence. A drowning person will grab at anything to stay afloat. The next morning, Lisa came to my office looking older and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. I need to confess something, Jennifer. Her voice trembled. When I married Peter, I owned 3 successful boutiques. He convinced me to sign them over, said separate finances meant I didn't trust him. She looked down at her hands, her wedding ring glinting in the light. Now, I can't buy groceries without asking for permission. Watching you stand your ground, I realize what I lost. Is that why Elizabeth's been so hostile? I asked gently. I'm everything she failed to become, independent, respected, successful on my own terms. And it's eating her alive. David came home that evening with the full story. Remember the Aspen investment Elizabeth kept pushing? It was a desperate attempt to get Dad's money to cover her debts. I felt a pang of sympathy, but also a sense of resolve. This wasn't going to be easy. And I was right. At the next Sunday dinner, Elizabeth stormed in, wearing designer sunglasses indoors. A familiar attempt to hide her distress. She threw a sharp glare my way. Must be nice, being so perfect. Separate accounts, a big career, everyone's respect. This isn't about me, Elizabeth, I replied calmly. Of course it's about you, Miss Independent, looking down on everyone who needs help. There's a difference between needing help and refusing to help yourself, I shot back. Lisa surprisingly backed me up. She's right. I taught you that dependency was normal, Elizabeth. I was wrong. Mom, you're betraying me for her? No, Elizabeth. I'm finally telling the truth. Look at what financial dependency did to both of us. David stood up, finally seeing the full picture. You tried to destroy my marriage because you couldn't handle Jennifer's success. That's what this whole separate accounts drama was really about. Elizabeth's carefully constructed world began to crumble. The luxury lifestyle, the facade of having it all, vanished in an instant, and somehow, she decided I was to blame. That night, I started documenting everything. The accusations, the financial secrets, the confrontations, not for revenge, but for protection. A woman who's lost everything can be unpredictable, and Elizabeth was becoming desperate. Looking across the dinner table, I saw her smudged designer mascara and trembling hands. I realized this wasn't over. She'd lost her marriage, her credit cards, and her reputation. In her mind, the only thing left to take was my happiness. Elizabeth's divorce became final on a rainy Tuesday. She showed up at her parents' mansion with 12 designer suitcases, tears perfectly timed for maximum sympathy. He took everything, she whimpered. Our accounts, the house, even my car. You mean his accounts, his house, and his car, David corrected. Maybe it's time you learned the difference. Her first job interview in 15 years was a disaster, as Lisa confided to me over lunch. She couldn't even explain what she's been doing all these years. Professional shopper isn't exactly a career skill. How's she handling living with you and Peter? I asked. Terribly. She's never followed a budget in her life. Yesterday, she cried because Peter wouldn't let her charge a $500 handbag. Family dynamics shifted dramatically at Sunday dinners. Peter started asking my advice on investments, and Lisa opened her own bank account for the first time in 40 years. I should have done this decades ago, she admitted. Watching you stand your ground gave me courage. Elizabeth, of course, was furious. So now everyone's following Jennifer's independent woman act. What happened to family unity? Unity doesn't mean dependency, David replied sharply. Look where your version of unity got you, divorced and broke at 33. Elizabeth tried different tactics. First came the tearful apology. I was just scared and jealous. Can't we start over? Then the guilt trips. Family should forgive family, unless you're too good for us now. Finally, the threats. I'll tell everyone you forced me into this situation, that you turned my family against me. A year later, the tables had fully turned. The same voices at the country club that once whispered about my separate accounts now praised my foresight. My career continued to soar, and I'd made partner at the firm. Inspired by my journey, I started a mentorship program for young women in finance. Financial independence isn't just about money, I told my first group. It's about having choices. David supported me through every step, proud to have a wife who'd fought for her principles. You showed my whole family what real partnership looks like, he said. Elizabeth, on the other hand, was still living with her parents, working part-time at a boutique she used to shop at. Last week, she reached out, trying one last time to manipulate me. I've changed, she claimed. I'm learning about financial responsibility. Can't you guide me? I sent back a simple response. Some lessons cost more than money. Now Lisa calls me regularly, seeking financial advice and building her own investment portfolio. She's rediscovering her business skills, a piece of herself she thought she'd lost forever. You didn't just save your independence, she told me once. You showed us all what we'd given up. Even Peter admitted his mistake. I wanted control over the family through money, he confessed. All I did was chain them. 3 of David's cousins opened separate accounts after seeing our example. Elizabeth's situation became a cautionary tale in the family, a reminder that dependency isn't love. It's a chain. Recently, I received an invitation to speak at a women's finance conference on maintaining independence in marriage. The irony wasn't lost on me. The very thing Elizabeth had tried to shame me for had become my platform for helping others. In my office, David had framed my first partner nameplate and hung it next to a photo of my immigrant parents. They taught me that true security comes from within, not from someone else's bank account. And while Elizabeth still glares at me during family events, her power over me is gone. She tried to undermine my boundaries, but in the end became the perfect example of why those boundaries mattered. When it comes to choosing between family harmony and financial independence, what would you pick? When Elizabeth tried to shame me for maintaining separate accounts, should I have given in to keep the peace, or was standing firm the right choice? And perhaps the hardest question of all, was Lisa's regret over giving up her financial independence a warning sign we should all consider?